Welcome back, everyone. We're on episode 6, I think, now. Yeah, 6. I should probably count before I start the intro, but I'm going to go with 6 of Gridiron Dynasty, a fantasy football podcast. If you don't know, my name is Tim. I am host here with my co-host, Pat. Pat, say hi.
Hello, everybody.
Okay, that's the least amount of talking Pat's going to do the entire episode. If you have been watching, you know that. So we got week 2 of the NFL season, Pat. We're already on to week 2. It's pretty exciting.
What comes after week 1?
I know. I'm so excited for it, though. I love football. And that's why I'm doing this podcast. So, Pat, what's that glowy green thing behind you there?
That is our lovely Dynasty football trophy.
It's got my name on it, right?
Glows in the dark and has a detachable decanter.
Right. And if you're familiar with Whiskey Wednesdays, Pat and I both partake in Whiskey Wednesdays. I got my Hogwarts
Hence
glass.
the shirt.
Yep. Pat wears that every time we record.
And usually Wednesday.
Yep. And so that, if I'm not mistaken, that football can fill up with whiskey.
It can fill up with whatever you're drinking.
Yeah. So it doesn't have my name on it yet, but it will. Because
It's blank.
It is blank for right now, but it will say 2021 to 2022. Is that how we're going to word it?
You should depends when the season, January 9th, the season ends. So
2021.
We won't go last week, so it should be 2021.
Yeah, that's fine. It's going to say 2021 champion Tim Murray on there. So just throwing it out there. We're going to have a little bit of recap of week 1. We're going to talk about 3 players that surprised us. Well, not 3 players, 3 things that surprised us. It could be a player, could be how a team performed. 3 player things that didn't surprise us, and 3 players to watch out for, or 3 things to watch out for. And then we'll give you our starts and 1 sit of the week. And if you watched last week's episode, you should know not to listen to me with that, because I told everyone to start Raheem Mostert. How'd he do? You want to know who else I told everyone to start?
He was going to get hurt on the 7th snap.
You want to know who else I told everyone to start, Pat? Russell Gage.
That didn't go well either.
He put up a big
You know who I told everyone to start? Deebo Samuel.
Yep.
That went well.
Yeah, so listen to Pat, don't listen to Tim is what we're getting at here. Pat, did you create a little Excel spreadsheet for today or no?
No, because I didn't get your full list, but I didn't really do oh, you mean the surprise list thing?
Yeah.
Nah, that was... No. I figured we'd bounce back and forth. It would make it a little bit easier than putting it on a list, because just names wouldn't make any sense on the list. So,
right. So we'll start with so what's good about it is and one thing we'll touch on is someone on my surprise list wound up on Pat's not surprise list. So we'll do that one first because it's an obvious one, and it's Aaron Rodgers. I thought the Packers were going to struggle because of the whole thing. I thought Aaron Rodgers was going to struggle, but I thought Aaron Rodgers struggling meant 15 points, not 1.32 or whatever he got in standard scoring. So, yeah, I'm a little surprised that he only put up that little amount of points against a Saints defense that is good, don't get me wrong, but it's still the Green Bay Packers offense. If anything, Green Bay Packers offense may have gotten better from last year. They lost Jamal Williams, but they gained Randall Cobb. Their offensive line
and A.J. Dillon just gets more starting time, which is probably better than Jamal Williams anyway.
Yeah, so it's a little surprising to me, and it wasn't even in New Orleans because they're not playing there because of the unfortunate hurricane. They're playing where they play Jacksonville, I think. So it wasn't even like they were playing in New Orleans' dome where it's loud and crazy. It's a bit shocking to me that Aaron Rodgers was that bad. Like, I expected him to not play up to Aaron Rodgers' 23 fantasy points scoring, but I didn't expect him to be one of the worst quarterbacks of the week, if not the worst starting quarterback of the week.
Well, Ryan Fitzpatrick.
True.
Rough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sorry about that, Pat.
I mean, they were outscored by Trey Lance and...
Trey Lance has a touchdown pass.
Justin Fields. They both had a touchdown. So,
yeah,
they both outscored 2 quarterbacks that easily made everyone's start list.
Mm-hmm.
You weren't benching Aaron Rodgers by any stretch, and it wasn't so much that I expected him to get 2 fantasy points, but there was no camp for that whole team.
Right.
There was no continuity. There was no guarantees. They had no idea what was happening. Aaron Rodgers is riding around in his fluffy golf cart.
Yep.
They're all having a whale of a time. He's the MVP. You're on top of the world. The New Orleans Saints, the last time a hurricane wrecked New Orleans, I don't know if anyone else remembers what happens, but the New Orleans Saints wrecked the entire NFL that year and won a Super Bowl.
Yeah, 100%. But that was a different team.
Together, yeah, but it's the same coach.
True.
And it's the same passion. And Jameis had something to prove. And that's why he made my surprise list, because he came out and proved it.
Yep.
But he had something to prove. And New Orleans Saints altogether got written off real fast when Drew Brees retired.
Yep.
There was plenty of people who were like, they don't suck by any stretch of the imagination, but they're not going to be anything this year. Drew Brees wasn't all that great last year. He's still a Hall of Fame quarterback, don't get me wrong. But there was no surprise in Drew Brees. It was 15-yard passing or less, and that was it.
Yep.
So the offense took on a whole new role. The defense didn't lose all that much. And I just feel like they were going to have a chip all over them. I don't expect Aaron Rodgers to keep playing at that level. I don't think Aaron Rodgers is physically capable of continuing to play at that level. It's going to improve. I just wasn't overly surprised that it went horribly wrong this week.
Yeah, like
if you handed me, would you like to start Aaron Rodgers or would you like to start Kirk Cousins? I'd have probably still started Kirk Cousins. I wasn't at all shocked that he struggled mightily.
Right. In our podcast league, it's a super flex league. I have 3 quarterbacks on my roster. I have Aaron Rodgers, Derek Carr, and Carson Wentz. I started Aaron Rodgers and Derek Carr because, one, Carson Wentz came off the injury. We didn't know how he was going to play week 1. As it turns out, he didn't play great. He didn't play bad. He played better than Aaron Rodgers did, so I could have got more points than that. Luckily, I still won my matchup, even with my quarterback putting up 1 point. But in another league, I had a decision between.
Not so lucky.
I had a decision between Aaron Rodgers and Joe Burrow. Again, Burrow's coming off a major knee injury, and all reports out of training camp was Burrow was struggling. So, and all reports were that the Vikings were going to have a better defense than last year. Neither one of those two things looked to be the thing on the field. Joe Burrow looked great. The Vikings defense looked just as bad as it did last year. So they played Detroit this week, the Packers. And if this was any time for Rodgers to show his true colors for the season, it's this game. If Rodgers puts up another dud, you got to start questioning whether or not he's done. If Rodgers comes out and plays like Aaron Rodgers against one of the worst defenses, if not the worst defense in football, then he's performing to par. So this is a telling week for the Packers, and I, for one, for the sake of 2 of my fantasy teams, need Aaron Rodgers to perform. My surprise list is all negative, so we'll get that out of the way. I already talked about Aaron Rodgers. Next up on the list is Brandon Ayuk. All reports out of training camp on this kid was he's ready. He's good to go. He's going to be just as good as he was last year. And he got very much outperformed, out-targeted, out-snapped, out-route, run every little category there is by Deebo Samuel and Trent Sherfield. I don't know if everyone else, I'm sure more people noticed this than not, but Brandon Ayuk was on the field less than Trent Sherfield. I don't even know if I'm saying the guy's name right. That was a major surprise to me because everyone thought Brandon Ayuk was going to be good this year, but he didn't do anything against the aforementioned Detroit Lions. Again, a terrible defense. Pat, were you surprised by Brandon?
One of the reasons he didn't make either of my lists was the thing that you clearly missed, and that I'm sure some people missed, was that he'd been injured recently. He hadn't practiced. Deebo Samuel had been getting all the practice, and Brandon Ayuk had not. And when you're in a team that is already going to struggle to throw the football, I'm sorry, Jimmy G, you're not a gunslinger. The offense likes to run their running backs into the dirt as easily as possible.
Since when is Jimmy G not a gunslinger, Pat? Come on.
I just made it up, actually, right here on the spot. I thought it would be a good way to segue into Jameis, who is a gunslinger, but we'll get to that in a little bit. Mm-hmm. But no, Ayuk had been limited at practices. He was one of the reasons that Debo was a must start for me, because there wasn't much else going on with that offense. I don't trust any of their running backs. Monster gets hurt too much. It happened. And their backup running backs are a giant question mark. Not saying they're not good. You just don't know who they're going to be every week. So there's no way to realistically look at them in fantasy and say, here's who's coming. Deebo Samuel, who was normally hurt, was the only healthy person coming out of that thing. Kittle just came off of a surgery last year. He missed the entire season. Ayuk's hurt. Their running backs are a giant question mark. Deebo Samuel was my only start in that offense for that exact reason. Obviously, you're not benching Kittle if you have him, but he was my guy who was going to have the go-to game, and he did. Do I expect Ayuk to get better? Yes. He's still questionable. He's clearly still recovering, and as the 49ers will show you from last year, they're not very good at managing injuries. So when will Ayuk be back at full speed? Who knows? Because they never seem to get an injury right. And even when they think they got a guy back, he gets hurt the next game because he wasn't ready to be back. So do they have to look at their health officials? Probably. But I wasn't all that surprised by you just because of the injury coming out of last week.
Right. Okay. That makes sense. I'm still surprised. It was a bad defense. I expected him to put up numbers.
That's one way to put it.
Yeah. All right. And last thing on my surprise list is the Tennessee Titans. Every single offensive player on the Tennessee Titans that's fantasy relevant. Tannehill, Henry, Julio, A.J. Brown. All of which did not perform up to expectations. The only one that did, that got close, was A.J. Brown. And he didn't even have a good game.
Good.
No, Derrick Henry wasn't good. Tannehill wasn't good. Julio wasn't good. Julio got called out by Mike Vrabel in a press conference after the game. So one of the things that everyone was talking about, every fantasy analyst that you listen to, and I talked about it myself included, I expected the Tennessee to have at least 3 people in the top 12 at their respective positions. I had Tannehill in the top 12. I had Derrick Henry in the top 12, and I had A.J. Brown in the top 12. I had Julio in the top 15. And they all were just straight up doo-doo against an Arizona Cardinals team that's not a great defense. Chandler Jones looked like an absolute monster. Thank you, Taylor Lewan. But I'm just shocked by that game in general. I thought the Cardinals had a chance to win, but I didn't think they were going to rout them like that.
I had the Cardinals winning. I didn't have them blowing them out by any stretch of the imagination.
No.
It seemed like Tennessee never got into their offense.
Nope.
And that could be caused by the fact that Chandler Jones was just running through the offensive line like they were made of Swiss cheese.
5 sacks.
And if you can't establish anything, you can't establish anything.
Nope.
And Tennessee never got to establish anything. They went down big, and then you're not really running the ball. And once you're not really running the ball, they can tee off on Julio and A.J. Brown, and the whole game falls apart. Tennessee's biggest thing is when they can pound the ball with Derrick Henry. Henry made my not surprise list. And, again, I didn't expect 10 points. But I'm not really surprised that he didn't put up monster numbers either. It's early in the season. It's not Derrick Henry time yet. Derrick Henry comes in fantasy playoff time. Late fantasy.
Yeah.
When defenses are tired. There's no tired defense week 1. And once you go down, and I expected Arizona to put up points. Once you go down, Derrick Henry comes out. Once you go down significantly, at least.
Mm-hmm.
And that, it just didn't surprise me. It surprised me a little bit they didn't get into the end zone.
Yeah.
But again, and that was the thing I mentioned when we talked about the Derrick Henry trade, who had the 1-yard rushing touchdown? Ryan Tannehill.
Yep.
So that's, if Derrick Henry's not getting goal line touches, you're gonna lose fantasy value. And it showed. I didn't expect a 10, but I didn't expect the 22.6 he was projected for either. I thought that was outrageous.
I was expecting around 16.
I think 16 would have been okay. 15, 16 would have been right where I would have expected. It's still a very good running back showing. But I overly surprised, I wouldn't say so. And I knew he was going to be on your list as someone who you were surprised by. So that's why he made my not surprised list. Not that I thought he would have a complete dud, but it's not Derrick Henry time yet. So, and this is a lot of times people will panic early on and they'll ditch Derrick Henry in week 3 because he hasn't put up 35 points yet. And then they get to that guy in the fantasy playoffs and he wrecks them because Derrick Henry puts up 42 points.
Yeah.
And that will probably happen. I'm not saying it's not going to happen. I'm just saying I wasn't surprised by his performance this week.
Right. And if you think that the owner in your league of Derrick Henry is panicking, go make an offer.
Go for him.
Go for him. Same thing with, and I know Pat's not a huge fan of him, but he's not going to put up 3 points like he did in week 1. Go after Zeke. Zeke's going to be better than he was week 1.
It's on my suck list this week again.
I know, but he's going to be better overall in the season that he's performing right now. If Zeke sucks again this week, go make an offer.
Go try to trade for him. Yeah.
Go try to
steal him. Don't make a crazy offer. Try to steal him.
Go buy low.
That's it. Go steal him.
Go buy low on these guys.
Go Matt Berman on his ass.
Oh, okay. No, that's insulting.
Go see if you can get him for peanuts. That's it. Go buy low. That's it.
Yeah, if you can get him, good for you.
I agree with that. I never been high on Zeke and not going to change now. I'll round out my surprise list. I know I mentioned Jameis, and that should just speak for itself.
What was he, 15 of 20 for 5 touchdowns? Like, what the heck?
Green
Bay, thanks for showing up.
And the best part was, and this was a stat they showed during the game, he had less passing yards than Aaron Rodgers. But he had 4 touchdowns.
One of those was a little one of those like...
It doesn't matter if you only throw for 35 yards. If 4 of them are for touchdowns, your fantasy numbers are going through the roof.
My favorite passing touchdown in the NFL is the little, like, I'm going to catch the ball, but immediately let go of it to the running back running across in front of me and it's Alvin Kamara in that instance. Gets a receiving touchdown. Yeah, getting a receiving touchdown on a play where
Goff special.
What was the release time on that throw by Jameis Winston? It had to be insane.
It was so quick they called it a run at first. They gave Kamara a rushing touchdown, and then they had to correct it after they reviewed it.
Wow!
So,
oh man!
Yeah, originally they gave that as when I was watching the game, and they scored it as a rushing touchdown to start. That's how quickly he got that ball out of his hand, and that's how close it was. They were like, he handed that off. Like, shovel pass, it counts. And bring it up, boys.
It works. It works.
Yeah, it works. So that's the way it goes some days. Rounding out my surprise list was Jamar Chase. Throw out training camp.
No one said he could catch.
All of training camp. Apparently, if you can't catch, that means nothing in the NFL. Because Jamar Chase was on my, oh my God, watch out, don't do this thing. And then Jamar Chase was like, oh, you mean just this 50-yard touchdown pass that I can catch in my hands perfectly, like I'm back at LSU again? So
yeah,
I guess you just needed a live defense to remember how your hands were. The dude said he couldn't see the laces on the ball.
Yeah, there was no white stripes around it, so it was harder to catch it.
That time, yeah, he saw them.
Do you think the Bengals were like
contact with the laces?
Do you think the Bengals were doing this on purpose in training camp, talking about how Burrow was struggling and how Jamar Chase couldn't catch, just to fool everyone?
Playing it off. I wasn't surprised by the reports coming out about Burrow, but because he's going to constantly be throwing to Jamar, and if Jamar is going around, then whatever. They may have been. Jamar may have been messing around, just knowing full well that him and Joe have a remarkable connection that you're not going to have to worry about. So, but
I think it also
looked like he looked every bit the player that I put as my number 1 wide receiver in this year's rookie draft.
Yeah, he looked great, and it also kind of solidified my opinion that Tyler Boyd is the wide receiver to fade for the Bengals this year. I think that T. Higgins isn't going to be a stud. Don't get me wrong. T. Higgins is going to be the number 2 receiving option on the team, though, and Jamar Chase is going to be their number 1. And I think Tyler Boyd is left out to dry because, and on my not surprise list, we'll talk about him, Joe Mixon. We'll talk about him in a little bit, though. So
as long as Mixon is healthy, I will agree with you.
Yep. So
as long as Joe Mixon stays healthy, absolutely. And that's been the story. That was when the 3 wide receiver sets took off for them, when Mixon couldn't do it. Giovanni Bernard was not going to hold that offense down.
Nope.
And those 3 wide receiver sets took off as soon as he got hurt. So, yeah, as long as Mixon is healthy, I agree with you, which is unfortunate because I have Tyler Boyd.
I know a lot of people like Tyler Boyd.
But I did. He put up all the numbers he needed to. You had negative reports coming out about Jamar Chase, so that pushed Tyler Boyd higher up. He runs the slot, so he kind of does his own thing game to game. It didn't work out that way this game, and I agree with you. It doesn't look like it's going to work out most games.
No, I think Burrow's going to focus on getting the ball to Chase and Higgins, and then they're going to pound the rock up the middle with Joe Mixon, evident by his 29 carries against Minnesota,
which was just outrageous.
Yep.
He got pulled out in the first half to see a trainer.
Yep.
Which meant nothing because he came right back.
Yep.
But when that happened, I was like, "Oh, here we go again."
But then, so was that your last of your surprise?
The last of my surprise was James. Oh no, I did not mention the guy who was number 1 on my surprise.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I think I only heard Jameis and Jamar Chase, and you said you were rounding it out.
Well, they were all J's, which I thought was actually kind of funny as I looked back into it.
Okay.
And my last J was a double J, Josh Jacobs.
Oh, Josh Jacobs.
He looked every bit.
Josh Jacobs,
the main running back.
Kenyon Drake was on the field like a lot. He was. I watched the entire game. He was on the field a good amount of time, Kenyon Drake. But a lot of time he was on the field, Josh Jacobs was on the sideline being looked at because of his toe.
Yes, and also Kenyon Drake showed that he was excellent in pass protection, and that's what they were using him for.
Yep.
And they were sitting in pass formation many a times. So that seemed to be why he was on the field more. When it came down to who was going to run the ball into the end zone, it was Josh Jacobs' time. I will say this about him being on my surprise list. I've seen this show before. I've seen Josh Jacobs take off in week 1, in week 2, and then fade hard. Yep. So would I put Josh Jacobs in elite territory right now? Go get him. Oh, my God, you made such a great pick. No. I just thought there would be more of a balance to the offense than that, and there was not. Which may mean nothing come week 2.
Right.
Who knows what game script will say?
It's John Gruden.
When they wanted to pound the ball, they handed it to Jacobs. He failed once, but he succeeded a couple of times. And if you succeed more than you fail with John Gruden, you're going to keep getting handed the ball. So I would expect him to still be running back number 1 in Las Vegas next week. Which, when you're deciding who to start on a fantasy lineup, being running back 1 is more important than being running back I don't know.
So if you're a Josh Jacobs owner out there, Pat, are you looking to capitalize on Jacobs looking every bit the number 1 running back and trying to move him, or are you doing a more wait-and-see approach and try to gauge when you think that he's going to fall off that inevitable cliff that he usually does?
I would almost give Josh Jacobs week 3.
And then try to move him?
Yeah, I mean, he was hurt already. He's going to be limited at practice. There's going to be reports of him limited at practice. And as much as people like to make trades based off of the past, they're going to look at the reports from whatever fantasy website you're using because that's how people determine what they think about players. They don't do any research. They look at what does ESPN say about this guy. There's my research. And they're going to say that his practice reps are limited. And they're going to say some stuff about Kenyon Drake being on the field. And he's not going to have that standout value that you could get back from after a performance like that. Because if he repeats that, that would be a bad trade.
Yep.
I think that's the easiest way I can say it. If he repeats that, it's a bad trade because he's a running back 1. If he repeats a goal line 2 touchdown performance, if he's capitalizing on all those opportunities, that's all you need.
Yep.
Mark Ingram made fantasy relevance this week. Why? Because he scored a touchdown, and that's all you need to do to maintain fantasy relevance sometimes is put the ball into the end zone. And if you're doing it twice, well, that's twice as good. So am I looking to trade Josh Jacobs right now? No. I'm going to give that. I think it showed that Kenyon Drake is going to be the pass protection, passing back for that team. And as long as Las Vegas can stay competitive in games, Josh Jacobs will have good fantasy value.
And that's the one thing about this Raiders team that they showed on Monday night was their offense might be better than people are leading to believe. They looked really good against a good Baltimore defense. Granted, Baltimore was down their number 1 corner due to an unfortunate knee injury, but that's still a good defense. It's still a good defensive scheme.
Got hurt during the game.
Yeah, but the Raiders were going like punch for punch with them
I agree.
the entire
I'm
game.
just pointing out the fact that Marlon Humphrey got hurt for a couple of snaps during the game.
And I know you're not a huge fan of the guy, but Derek Carr didn't look that bad either. Derek Carr.
I have no problems with Derek Carr. He just sometimes he looks like Tom Brady, and at some points he looks like Sam Darnold.
Sam Darnold looked really good this week.
Randomly closes his eyes and throws the football.
Yeah,
and I've watched Carr do that.
Yeah.
Just kind of go, yeah, that'll go. No crap.
So like, I think the Raiders are going to be a better team than people thought this year. Are they going to be a playoff team? Probably not. Are they going to be competitive games? Yes. Is their defense bad enough where they're going to need to be behind, like coming from behind in games? Probably. Max Crosby looked good. Who else on that defense looked really good on Monday night? They got torched by Sammy Watkins and Marquise Hollywood-Brown the entire game.
He was playing four defensive line positions.
Max Crosby was all over the field
on that field.
Yeah,
if you can run down Lamar Jackson, you're doing something right.
Max Crosby was drafted a couple rounds after, Cleveland Farrell out of Clemson.
He was drafted late.
Yeah, Max Crosby was drafted.
Nothing but talk about that during Monday Night Football.
Yeah, they did, because they like to harp on one thing when they talk on Monday Night Football. But what I'm getting at is Kenyon Drake I wouldn't get rid of Kenyon Drake if I'm a Kenyon Drake owner, because there are going to be games where the Raiders are going to be coming from behind, and Kenyon Drake did show he's going to be the guy on third down. So coming from behind, they're going to be throwing the ball. Kenyon Drake will get his receptions and be on the field for pass protection and stuff like that. So if you're a Kenyon Drake owner, don't expect him to be an RB2, but don't exactly jump ship on him yet. Wait until the Raiders play more games.
If your bench and your league is so short that you're thinking about getting rid of Kenyon Drake, you must be in one hell of a league.
Right.
Because there's not many places where you can drop a high-tier backup running back and put him on waivers and be happy with yourself.
Right. I'm just saying there might be some people tilting.
I don't know who you're picking up. And again, if you're in an 8-team league, maybe you're dropping Kenyon Drake.
Yeah, for Elijah Mitchell, but that's like the only thing I'd be somewhat considering dropping Kenyon Drake for right now. Don't panic is all I'm getting at. It's week 1. It's way too early to hit the panic button on players for week 1. All right, we'll jump into not surprised. Pat already touched on his first not surprised, which was Aaron Rodgers.
2.
That was your second.
Henry also.
Oh, you did. So Pat's finish off your not surprised then. You only got one left.
My not surprised, number 3, Latavius Murray. I'm not surprised. He's already part of the offense.
He had one more carry than Tyson?
He's ready. We knew that.
He's a good running back.
He's a good running back. He went through training camp. He went through everything. Yeah, he didn't know the offense. All they did was hand him the ball and say, run through the line that way.
And he can pass protect.
Know the offense. Yeah, when he gets to know the offense, he's going to have more plays. His 2 plays were the same play. Hand the ball off, run down the middle. He scored a touchdown on one of them and gained like 8 yards on the other one. He's a good running back. He knows where he fits in. He knows what he needs to do. And it did not at all surprise me that he was part of that offense already. It didn't surprise me that he was ready to go. I think you can throw away Le'Veon Bell if you picked him up as a flyer for this team.
Was just about to say that.
Good luck.
Once they sign Latavius Murray, Le'Veon Bell's value, whatever the little bit it was, was gone.
You messed up. It's okay, because I'm there with you. I picked him up also. So don't feel bad. We all did that.
I picked up Le'Veon Bell in the league.
I picked up Latavius Murray also. I kept them both on my bench, waited to see which one was there, and then threw out Le'Veon Bell.
When they cut Latavius Murray, I kept him in our one Dynasty league because I had him as my handcuffed Alvin Kamara, and I kept him with the hopes that he would sign with Baltimore. And what Baltimore did was they took their 2 top running backs who both got knee injuries and replaced them with copies of them, with Tyson Williams is a copy of J.K. Dobbins, and Latavius Murray is a copy of Gus Edwards. So those are going to be their 2 running backs. They're going to be playing the exact same roles as Dobbins and Gus Edwards, which means in this offense, they both can carry value. Didn't mean to step on your toes there, Pat.
No, it's okay. I agree with you. That's why I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised he's in there. I'm not surprised he's ready to go. And I won't be surprised when he's a huge part of the offense next week.
Right.
I'm sure some people is like, oh my God, he's already there. He's been ready. He's been training with the Saints.
Vet. He's a veteran. To go. He's a veteran running back in the NFL who on a lot of teams would be the starting running back in the NFL. When he was a starting running back in Oakland, he was a 1,000-yard rusher. He's only 3 years removed from that, and he's not been playing every down in New Orleans. He's been playing less down, so his legs, his knees, he's got less wear and tear on him, and he's a smart running back. I love Latavius Murray as a player. I thought he is undervalued as a free agent when he became a free agent. So, anything else you'd like to touch on with your not surprised people that you missed?
That was it.
Oh, we had a guest appearance here.
You want to say hi? You say it? Come here. Come here. Someone woke up. You're on TV. Say hello.
Hi.
You can smile.
Pat, why don't you introduce this adorable child?
This is my adorable daughter, Alex. Say hi. No, say hi. All right, good job. Who's this? You don't know who this is? This is Lammy. Mommy's upstairs in bed. You want to go upstairs? Yeah. Okay, you go ahead. Okay, go ahead. Someone woke up.
We got to episode 6 before one of Pat's kids joined the podcast.
That's more impressive than anything else. I mean, we doing this at 9:30. I'm shocked.
It was bound to happen.
I'm honestly shocked we made it this far before one of them came to life and came downstairs and made an appearance.
It was a nice surprise guest appearance in our podcast for today. I wasn't expecting a guest, but hey, I'm all
we're trying to get extra views here. That's the whole plan. Get extra views.
We're trying to branch out to a younger audience. I get it.
Horrible children. All of the 2-year-olds now will like and subscribe, which is important.
Yeah, do that.
Demographic of Dynasty players.
Yeah, because they want to build up their rosters from when they're 2 to when they're 82.
When they're in high school, their roster's going to be awesome.
Oh, could you imagine? All right.
So now have Tom Brady on it. Anyway.
Facts. So we'll jump to my not surprise list. Number 1, and Pat knows how much I've liked this guy this year. It is Joe Mixon. I can't tell you how happy I am that the guy got 29 carries. What was it, 120, 130 rushing yards and a touchdown. They lost the only guy that was taking plays snaps away from him in the backfield last year in Giovanni Bernard. Samaje Perine does not move the needle for me at all. He didn't move the needle for Washington. That's why Washington moved on for him. So it's Joe Mixon's backfield. Like Pat said, he does have a history of injuries, but also coming out of college, the thing with Joe Mixon was the only reason why he was a second-round pick was the incident at the bar. If it weren't for that, Joe Mixon would have unquestionably one of the first 2 running backs taken in that draft. It was the off-the-field issues, and he has kept his nose clean completely since he came into the NFL, so that's not a worry.
No question.
He has the talent. He has a top 15 draft pick talent. And now you have Joe Burrow, who, like we already talked about, looks like he can move the ball. You have another wide receiver who's going to create space because defenses aren't going to be able to staff the box against Joe Mixon because Jamar Chase can take the top off the defense like he showed last week against Minnesota. Joe Mixon is going to continue this offense is going to move through Mixon until the foreseeable future. And rightfully so. You run the ball more, you're protecting your quarterback. You run the ball more, you give your quarterback a chance for play action. You run the ball more, you become successful. Obviously, Joe Mixon, it's not like he got 29 carries and had 56 rushing yards. He rushed for over 100 yards. He was averaging more than 4 yards.
They were efficient yards.
They were good yards.
And one of the reasons you get efficient yards is because they're worried.
Yeah.
They're worried you're going to throw the football. And Joe Mixon, in his injury years, he's been getting 29 carries, but there's been no one to throw the ball to. So there was 6-7 people in the box. There was Andy Dalton was slinging it to A.J. Green, who was hurt.
Yep.
Or
something.
Old or whatever. He was something.
Mm-hmm.
One word for it.
It wasn't good.
So yeah, Joe Mixon. The talent is there. The fear for me was simply the injury. So if Joe Mixon's on the field, and the offense has 3 wide, and Joe Mixon only has the box to run through, and you have probably 1 to 2 safeties over the top because Higgins and Chase can both burn you. As long as you split them out and put Boyd in the middle, you're probably getting 2 safety coverage. If you get single safety, well, you're probably about to get a 50-yard touchdown scored against you. It's going to open up lanes for Joe Mixon. So as long as Joe Mixon stays healthy, I completely agree with you. Not surprised. Put him at the board, and that's run with it.
He's a top 12
always
running
had
back.
the talent. Every time he's played, he's been up at the top. It's the fact that he has DNPs next to his name so many goddamn weeks every year.
Right.
Yeah, no, 100%. If he's on the field, if he's playing, he did what he would be expected to do.
Agreed completely, obviously. Number 2, Kyler Murray. Now, I know you guys are probably sitting there thinking like, well, Kyler Murray's top quarterback. I had a very hard time convincing myself to put Patrick Mahomes ahead of Kyler Murray in my quarterback rankings for the season and Josh Allen. And this is exactly why he threw for 4 touchdowns. He rushed for 1 of them. He has, in my opinion, the best pure talent wide receiver in the NFL in Deandre Hopkins. He's got Rondale Moore, who's a good second-round pick wide receiver this year. He's got Christian Kirk, who's a good wide receiver. And he's got Chase Edmonds, who's a good pass-catching back out of the backfield. And he's got a coach who wants to move the football with a high pace to it, which lends itself to Kyler Murray's skill set. I'm not surprised he finished as the quarterback 1 in most leagues, quarterback 2 in some other leagues, based on how your scoring is. He's going to be there the entire season. So I'm not surprised at all by Kyler Murray being a stud. He's going to be a stud. Pencil him in every week. Stud. Any disagreements, Pat?
No. Pure talent wide receiver, best in the NFL. I'd still say Devontae Adams. But DeAndre Hopkins is an excellent wide receiver.
You just hate him because he went to Clemson.
No, actually, he's one of the few people who went to Clemson I don't hate. And it took everything in me not to make fun of Trevor Lawrence this week for throwing 3 interceptions and looking absolutely terrible against the Houston Texans defense. So thank you for bringing that up because I really wanted to talk about how much
Zach Wilson looked better than Trevor Lawrence. Zach Wilson should have been the number 1 pick.
The world looked better. Justin Fields looked better than Trevor Lawrence this week. I don't hear it. It did take everything in me not to put him on a list somewhere, and I'm really glad you brought up Clemson. That way I could talk about how bad Trevor Lawrence looked this week.
Right.
Yeah, that was fantastic. No, DeAndre Hopkins actually is one of the few people coming out of Clemson that I like. So was the aforementioned quarterback of the Houston Texans. Anywho.
Jacksonville Jaguars.
No, Deshaun Watson.
Oh, that one. Yeah, that one. Yeah, that one. I forgot about that one.
Yeah, I mean, there are a couple people who have come out of Clemson that I haven't completely hated.
Did you see someone drop Deshaun Watson in the one Dynasty league we're in?
I do it. Until there's something that moves the needle, fill up the positions you got to fill up. If you're competing this year and Deshaun Watson's what's there, okay, awesome. If you're not competing, go pick him up. Keep him on your bench. Stash him. He's going to have a team next year. There you go. Go crazy.
I compete in that league, but I figured I have Aaron Rodgers in that league, so I'm going to need a quarterback at some point.
You don't know when he's going to play again.
It's true.
You don't know if he's going to play again. It's a lot like if you do baseball, keeping Trevor Bauer. He probably will never play again.
Yeah.
He's a top-tier talent. You'd want to have him, but is he going to play again? Probably not. So will you let him go?
Mm-hmm.
But it just – Kyler Murray has so many skills, and for once he's got a coach that wants to use them. So seeing him up top, as we discussed when we discussed quarterback rankings, the top 4 was going to be a coin flip. Who's going to be in the top 4? They were going to be something that was 10 points off at most. And Patrick Mahomes had a great day. Don't get me wrong. You saw the talent. You saw Tyreek Hill. You saw Travis Kelce, or however I pronounce his name. You saw the talent there. Josh Allen had a bad day, and that happens.
Against a very good defense. A very good defense.
You're playing Pittsburgh's defense. Don't ever. I bench Pittsburgh's defense, and once again, I was wrong because you never bench Pittsburgh's defense, and I immediately dropped the other defense I started for them because that was dumb. The defense still put up 8 points, but it was dumb to bench Pittsburgh's defense. So yeah, having Kyler Murray up there, not surprised at all. That's where he belongs. It's going to be a throw-first offense. They ditched Kenyon Drake. They went with 2 running backs that don't run. I don't care what you say about James Conner. He looked every bit the running back that was terrible.
He tries to run.
Chase Edmonds is a receiving running back, and that's why they feature him, because that's what they want to do. They want to sling it. They want to spread it. They want to go.
Speed.
Exactly. So, no, not surprised at all. Pure talent wide receiver on DeAndre Hopkins. He's thrown into a list of 3 with Devontae Adams and the never talked about Keenan Allen, who deserves to be talked about a hell of a lot more.
The skill set of the route running on Keenan Allen is top tier.
Remarkable. Yeah, exactly. And no one talks about it because he never makes that splash.
Nope.
His team never makes, in fantasy football, he's always up at the top. But the Chargers never do anything, so no one ever talks about Keenan Allen, and that's just unfortunate.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as pure talent, those 3 get thrown into a blender and thrown around and call it what it is. But no, not surprised at all by Kyler Murray.
Right. Last on my not surprised list is Saquon Barkley. Now, I started him in one league because I didn't have another option. It's Saquon Barkley. Most of you drafted him in your first round or in the second round. If this was a startup Dynasty league, he won the first 2 rounds. You're going to start him, but you shouldn't have expected a good game out of him week 1. Broncos have a good defense. He's coming off major knee injury. We talked about it, I'm pretty sure, on a podcast before. The only other running back to come back from a major injury like that and perform the next season was Adrian Peterson. And Adrian Peterson is arguably one of the greatest running backs to ever play football. So Saquon Barkley has all the talent in the world. He's also running behind the 31st ranked offensive line in week 1, which was the New York Giants. 31st. That was behind the likes of, I believe, the Jets. And if you watch the Jets game, you know that Zach Wilson was running for his life. So Saquon Barkley, I'm not surprised he put up 3 points. Yes, I started him in one of my leagues. Yes, I lost in that league. Do I regret starting Saquon Barkley? Sure, hindsight's 20/20. But it's Saquon Barkley, you start the name. This week, though, we'll get to it. I'm sitting Saquon Barkley this week. It's even worse matchup than it was last week for him. So, you're not surprised by Saquon either, I'm guessing, because
he was on my do not draft list. He was on my hard skip list. He was on everything. If I was 8th and Saquon Barkley was still sitting there, I'm going fishing. It was no.
Yeah.
That, and even without the injury, the offensive line that the New York Giants have is awful. And Saquon Barkley has great skill, but it's very hard to overcome having absolutely no room. It's very hard to overcome having absolutely no time to get going.
Yep.
And it's very hard to even get out into the flat when your quarterback's getting hit within 3 seconds. So Saquon Barkley, Dynasty, I get it. You wanted him because
he's
they
young.
Have to get better, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's young. So, yeah. Would I have skipped him until round 2? Probably. Would anyone else have? No, and that's okay. If we had a super flex league, so obviously it changes what you're looking at.
Right.
But he was going in top 6 running backs, and if you took him top 6 running back in a redraft league, you messed up.
Yeah.
You messed up bad. You name drafted, and that's okay because people name draft. But name drafting in the first round is a terrible idea. And if you have Saquon Barkley as your running back 1, that's a mistake.
Yep.
And it's a mistake I feel confident in saying right now that was a mistake. And there's very few of those that I have because you never know what's going to shake out in a fantasy football season. But they have no offensive line. He's coming off an injury. Devontae Booker made some outrageous catches. He looked the part of someone who will be put in when they're down points and they don't want to re-hurt Saquon Barkley, which throws out garbage time touchdowns also.
Mm-hmm.
And there are plenty of players that make their living off of garbage time.
Like Bortles did.
Yeah, there's been plenty of players that have gained fantasy relevance. I can't think of them right now. The running back of Washington, who was literally on draft
Alfred
list.
Morris?
No, not the no. God, why can't I remember his name? I don't feel bad now that you didn't remember his name either.
Yeah, I thought it was Alfred Morris. But no, so Saquon Barkley, in the league that I have him in, it's a Dynasty league. This is the second year of the league. So last year, I had second overall pick. I took Saquon Barkley because Christian McCaffrey went 1. At that point, it's Saquon Barkley 2. And yeah, that's where I'm at with that one. So I kind of had to do it. And so I had to start him because I didn't know what, and this is a perfect segue into players to look out for. I didn't exactly know how Damien Harris was going to look in New England, or how Bill Belichick was going to treat Damien Harris, and he's on my players to look out for list because he got 23 carries in week 1. He is the number 1 running back on that team. Yes, he'll come off the field in third down, but the Patriots defense and Mac Jones being a non-turnover machine is going to keep the Patriots in games, which means they're going to be running the football. James White's going to come in on third down to catch the football. Damien Harris is going to be the guy they're giving to on their first and second down. And Damien Harris has looked every bit the part of a good running back, from a pure running back standpoint. He's ripping off 5 yards a carry for 4.5 yards a carry. That's what he did last year. He went 23 from 100 something this past week. So perfect segue to players to look out for. Number 1 on my list is Damien Harris.
I questioned the team they played. Miami has a good defense. They don't have a great defensive line. They have an awesome secondary. The game script of that game was very run. It was low scoring. It was tight. It was there. Do I like Damien Harris? Yeah, I made sure he was included in the trade that when I sent Derrick Henry over. The running back of New England with Mac Jones there is going to have some semblance of value. Mac Jones is not going to be
Cam Newton,
Jalen Hurts. He's not going to be Justin Fields. He's going to hand the ball off. They're going to want to establish the run. They have to give him time in the pocket. He's a pocket passer. New England hates running backs, and that's the thing that scares me, is that no matter what happens, New England hates running backs. They love pass-catching running backs, but they hate running backs. They hated running backs when Tom Brady was there, and if you can hate running backs with Tom Brady, you can hate running backs. Although Tampa Bay seems to hate running backs also.
I think the running backs hate themselves in Tampa.
Maybe running backs just hate Tom Brady, so Tom Brady makes sure they're all benched. I honestly don't know the situation there. But it seems like wherever Tom Brady goes, people hate running backs. But the coaches seem to follow through with that.
Because it's Tom Brady.
And here we are. So Bill Belichick seems to still hate running backs. By the way, the answer was Chris Thompson. Fantasy relevant receiving running back.
Okay.
That was who I was looking for. Thank you, Google. He always made it garbage time.
And
he
did.
If you saw James White in the last game, he had plenty of catches. He had plenty of touches. He was always relevant, like he always is in PPR leagues. As the season seems to go along, it always seems like James White picks up and the rest of the running backs fall off. I'm interested to see what happens with Mac Jones back there and to see how that shapes out. Damien Harris doesn't make my watch list because he makes my medium list already.
Right.
He's not on waivers. He's not someone that you can go get right now. He's not someone that's going to be tradable unless you have someone really big you're giving up and there's a package trade deal that you're getting. You're not going to trade Damien Harris for a wide receiver 2. He's not at that level yet. You're not really going to go out and get him.
Right. It's just someone to monitor the situation of, because the thing with Damien Harris is he's going to have a floor. He's going to have his touch. He's going to have his carries. So he's going to be getting his 12 touches, his 12 carries a game, and with his skill set, that can be between 50 to 80 yards a game. And the thing is, Cam Newton is no longer in New England. Rex Burkhead is no longer in New England. The goal line work has to go to a running back, and it's going to go to Damien Harris before it goes to James White when it comes to carries, I believe. So he does have the ability to score touchdowns when they get down to the goal line. How often that happens, though, is yet to be seen because it didn't happen week 1. However, they are playing the New York Jets in week 2. And as Christian McCaffrey showed, you don't need to score to be fantasy relevant against the New York Jets. You just need to get the ball in, run those legs, and the Jets just, hey, go ahead. go run by us. We don't care. It's fine. Just do what you got to do. So I've loved Damien Harris since the beginning of the season, since last season, before he got hurt with his finger, because everyone was talking about him being like a 3-down back in New England. I've held on to him in most leagues since then. So that's why Damien Harris is there for me. Number 2 is a guy who was quiet on Monday Night Football until literally the last 4 minutes of the game and overtime. Bryan Edwards.
On my list also.
Pat and I are on the exact same page with Bryan Edwards. I think he got hurt, correctly, his last year in college?
He got hurt after the last game of the season or after the season. He was fine coming out, but he was hurt coming out, like, afterwards he got hurt.
So he
finished
dropped
the season. He had the whole thing.
Right.
But he dropped in value because he got hurt.
He should have been
either the last game of the season or during the build up to the draft. He got hurt, and that's why his stock fell as much as it did.
He was projected as a round 1 or a round 2 pick, if I remember correctly, when he was coming out, and then he got hurt. I believe he's one of Pat's alma mater of South Carolina, correct? So Pat knows more about him than most people because Pat pays attention to University of South Carolina players.
Why he's already on every single one of my teams.
Not every single one. Oh, is he?
90% of them.
Oh, the one league. The one league I have him in.
The league we drafted this year because there was so much buzz about him in training camp.
Yeah. So the one league I have him in is not a league that you're in, but he had 4 catches for 82 yards to end the game.
And they were all at the end of the game, and they were all big catches in traffic.
When Derek Carr needed to make a throw,
someone to rely on.
When Derek Carr needed to make a throw and the game was on the line, who showed up and caught the pass? My boy Bryan Edwards. I almost said the Braylon Edwards. Wow.
Close.
So
right there.
He's got talent. This kid's got talent.
In your league, all because of that last usage. I was losing.
That was great. It was beautiful to watch that.
It was the Bryan Edwards show.
And I think that what that's going to do is that's going to build for Derek Carr, so he's not throwing to Darren Waller in triple coverage every throw. He now can throw to Bryan Edwards, and
Darren Waller had like 16 targets during the regulation.
Like, give 4 of those to Bryan Edwards.
Like, stop it.
Like, just
stop
give them. Give them to Bryan Edwards.
You can't throw to your tight end 16 times a game. It's never going to work out for you.
So we don't need to harp on Bryan Edwards because Pat and I are both ecstatic about him. I don't think he's going to jump into a wide receiver 1 or even wide receiver 2 status this year. He could creep up into that wide receiver 3 though, because I don't know if he's going to have a touchdown upside, but I do think he could have a PPR upside. He's not.
I could see low end wide receiver 2.
Right.
And this is a thing with injuries.
Yep.
They've been using him in the red zone coming out of training camp, which is why he got all the buzz, which is why he got the higher draft selection. Normally, I was able to scoop up Bryan Edwards in the last round and just call it a day. But we drafted late, and there was a lot of Bryan Edwards is the red zone guy. And as soon as that happens, when you're drafting a startup dynasty league, everyone's like, "Ooh, the red zone guy. Those are touchdowns." That's
and Willie
6,
Snead
7,
shows.
8, 9. Hey, that's 10 points from a wide receiver I'm drafting in the last round for 1 touchdown. Give him to me.
Right, and
maybe get some upside out of there.
And who did Derek Carr look for in the red zone when the game was on the line? He looked for Willie Snead, who was wide open and let a ball go through his hands.
That's the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
Wide open. I don't care how hard they were trying to make excuses.
Oh my God, they tried so hard to blame that on Derek Carr. I'm like, he threw it to a wide open wide receiver. Catch
it literally
the
went into his hands, and he dropped.
What are you, Jamar Chase?
It was terrible.
Stop it.
So yeah, Bryan Edwards, keep a lookout for him. If he's on your waiver wire, go grab him. He shouldn't be on your waiver wire. If he is on your waiver wire, go pick him up. If someone has him on their team, lowball offer them. If you get him, you get him. If not, just do something. Do something where you're giving up a bigger player and you're getting a bunch of these medium range guys with potential. If you lost your week 1 matchup by like 30 to 40 points and you need splash players, you could trade one of your bigger names and go after guys that have high potential to help you win. You need to fill out your roster at this point. That's why you lost by 30 to 40 points, because your roster is not complete. Or your team just sucked.
Or they all got hurt. Or your quarterback got hurt early on.
Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Got pulled. Ryan Fitzpatrick put up half a point.
Anywho. My last guy on the players to look out for, he's, again, he's going to be like Damien Harris, where he's not on waiver wires. He could be a trade target, and it's Mike Williams for me. And I texted Pat ahead of time because originally I had Hollywood Brown here because Hollywood Brown did ball out in Monday Night Football. He looked great. I texted Pat earlier today telling him I'm switching to Mike Williams, and Pat's exact words were, I like it. Because Mike Williams had, 12 targets this past weekend?
I like it because Mike Williams gets overlooked all the time.
Because of the aforementioned Keenan Allen and the fact that he also is Mr. Injury prone. Every time he goes down to the ground, you think he's going to come up holding his leg or his hip or his ribs.
And when he played, it was always the big catches. He didn't have this game. He had multiple targets. You almost never see that. You usually see him as a 4 or 5 target guy. 3 of them are in the end zone. 2 of them went for touchdowns, and it's like, oh my God, he's that splash player. He didn't splash play. He played.
He had 9 catches, 92 yards, and a touchdown or something like that. He had a high. What Mike Williams usually has is he'll have those couple of catches with the high yardage total. This game, he didn't have that, which means that Justin Herbert was looking to him in the intermediate to shallow routes, and he was making those catches, which helps a quarterback's confidence in you tremendously, and that's why Keenan Allen is someone that Pat and I both agree on is one of the better wide receivers in football, because Keenan Allen makes his living catching the ball between 7 and 20 yards. Keenan Allen's not a deep threat by any means. He's very slow for a wide receiver, as his Madden rating shows. If you guys play Madden, it's very slow, but he'll run a great route, catch the ball, and I think that's having a rubbing off effect on Mike Williams here. I know it's poor phrasing, all right? Phrasing.
You want to redo that one?
No, we're good. We're good.
Off effect? No, you're going to go with that? Mm-hmm. All right, cool. Well, if you're good with rubbing off effect, I'm good with rubbing off effect. And things that are rubbing off on me right now. Let's see. Nah, it's just weird for everyone. I'm going to go up my player to watch, Juwan Johnson. And it wasn't a volume play. It was a where he was played. He was played in the red zone. And Jameis loved him in the red zone. And if you're going to be a 3 red zone target guy for a guy who can scramble around, create time, create opportunities, and look for an open guy, a big-bodied wide receiver transitioning to tight end, playing on the inside, not being covered by anyone but a linebacker or a safety, give me Juwan Johnson.
Right.
So he made a very big watch list for me. He got added to some leagues where I had plenty of opportunity to improve my benches. Is he a go-to guy right now? No. But if he keeps getting 3 looks in the end zone every week, he just might be.
I still think that, while I agree Juwan Johnson's a guy to monitor, I still think that it's Adam Trautman is the tight end that I want in New Orleans. He outsnapped Juwan Johnson by a lot. He out-targeted Juwan Johnson by a lot. Juwan Johnson was on the field in the red zone, as you pointed out already. But it's a good person to look at. It's kind of like Mo Alley Cox in Indianapolis. What was it, 2 years ago when he was catching all those red zone targets because he was...
Jack Doyle was getting all the play, and Mo Alley Cox was getting all the touchdowns.
Exactly. So it's a similar situation.
You can get fantasy relevance just by catching touchdown passes. It's why Bryan Edwards was getting drafted. We already talked about that.
Yep.
If you're getting the red zone looks, you're draftable. You could almost, at the end of the season last year, play Josh Reynolds on the Rams because he was going to get thrown a touchdown pass once a game.
Yep. No, I believe me, I agree with you. Touchdowns are where the money comes from when it comes to fantasy football. Monitor the guy. If he's on your waiver wire and you have an empty roster spot and you just want to throw him on there to have him as a speculative ad, go for it. I'm not going out of my way to go get Juwan Johnson, but he's definitely someone that I have been keeping my eye on.
I had Akins, and I traded out Akins for Juwan Johnson. So...
I don't want anyone in Houston.
I don't think I'm going to go ahead and play the Texans tight end every week.
I'm not playing anyone in
I'll go ahead and take a flyer.
I'm the only person in Houston. The only person in Houston that I'd be starting every week is Brandon Cooks. And that's just because because Brandon Cooks is a good wide receiver. But
well, in case we all forgot, Akins was on my 2-start list last week because I thought he was going to be something. It turns out that was wrong. So see, we all have one that was wrong. Sometimes
I had 3.
That happens. Yeah, well, okay.
Don't worry, I got good ones this week.
My round out for players to watch, and it doesn't have a name attached to it. It's the 49ers running back situation.
Yep.
Both of these guys were drafted this year. And one of them was a healthy scratch. And one of them scored 2 touchdowns. One Was that game related? Was that practice related? Was that behavior related? We'll never know. We're not in San Francisco's coaching staff. We don't know. All we know is that Trey Sermon was a healthy scratch.
Yep.
And everyone thinks Trey Sermon should never have been a healthy scratch. People have him on their draft list. He was getting drafted in redraft leagues. He's getting drafted everywhere. And then he wasn't there first week.
People were putting him in their DraftKings lineup this week because they thought that he was going to be the guy that's getting all the work because they were going to beat up on Detroit.
He wasn't even there.
That's the problem.
And for me, that says something. Now, is that he doesn't understand the offense yet? Because you can get over that in 3 weeks. You can get over that in 2 weeks. The 49ers can get an injury, and then you don't have no choice but to get over it.
You can get over it when you get benched for a guy drafted 4 rounds after you.
And let's find out when he gets over it. Mitchell had a great game. Mitchell played great. Mitchell was on list coming out. We talked about Mitchell when we did our rookie thing. And Mitchell was there. We all...
we just both didn't like the landing spot for him.
Right,
We both thought he was a good running back.
It was behind 2 running backs, and it was behind another running back that was drafted ahead of him. It was a terrible spot. And what he did with it, he came out, he won the job, he did the running, and is he going to be the number 1 from now on? Maybe.
I think it's going to be a committee. It could be a committee.
Don't know.
Trey Sermon has that draft capital.
It depends what Trey... You could see Trey Sermon get scratched again if the coaching staff feels a certain type of way. Probably not, because now they don't have that many running backs to play. But if they feel a certain way about a player to prove a point, maybe they do.
The 49ers do this. They'll have their starting running back, then they'll have the backup running back, and then the third active running back is someone who makes a special teams contribution. So apparently the beat writers said this after the game, that it looked like during training camp Trey Sermon was passed by Elijah Mitchell. It's surprising that the beat writers say this after the game happens, that it happened during training camp. But anyway, so Raheem Mostert is a starter, Elijah Mitchell's a backup, JaMychal Hasty is a special teams contribution guy. Jeff Wilson Jr. is still hurt, so this upcoming week, Elijah Mitchell, Trey Sermon, JaMychal Hasty should be their 3 active running backs. And I think it's going to be more or less a split, like a 60-40 split. I don't think it's going to be all Elijah Mitchell or all Trey Sermon. And that's indicative.
This coaching staff really thinks about them, which is why they're on my watch list. I'm not putting any of them into starters. If you grabbed Elijah Mitchell because he had a great game, I get it. It makes sense. Mm-hmm. He's the number 1 running back in San Francisco right now. We watched that mean nothing last year. Prepare to watch it mean nothing this year.
Yep.
They went with whoever they wanted more, whoever was doing better that specific day. Prepare for that again. There was absolutely no one who you would consistently start coming out of the 49ers backfield last year. And if that should prepare you for anything, it should be this. If there's one RB1 healthy, there you go. And even then, it might not be. Because there were situations where it didn't work out like that. So that backfield, I'm on a wait-and-see approach, which sucks because, well, their number 1 running back is out for the year.
Mm-hmm.
So you probably can't get him anymore.
Right.
You probably can't get either of them anymore because anyone, like I said, Sermon was probably drafted in your league.
Yep.
And now Elijah Mitchell has been picked up in your league.
Right. If your waivers, we're recording this Wednesday. It's going to get posted Thursday. If somehow Elijah Mitchell's on your free agency list by the time this episode's posted, don't walk, sprint, and pick him up because there's a possibility that he does take over the starting job. And the 49ers have proved one thing: their running backs are fantasy relevant year in and year out.
Just don't start him this week.
No, they're going up against Philadelphia.
And it's rough. So. It's rough to say that. They're going against Philly, which you would think soft defense, but didn't show that. They looked all. It was Atlanta.
It was
but they looked all the part.
Yeah.
I agree with you. Don't rush into starting him. Is my only point. Don't grab him and go.
No, but grab him.
He's not that guy for me yet.
Definitely pick him up, though.
None of them are that guy for me yet. Definitely pick him up if you have the option. If you're number 1,
mm-hmm.
He's probably, unless some crazy people are on your waiver wire, he's probably number 1. He's probably number 1 in every league that you're in. So if you're number 1, he's the guy. Is he going to keep being the guy? Don't know. Is he going to be the guy that's weak? I don't know. And I don't think anyone knows. I don't think San Francisco beat writers know who the number 1 guy is going to be. I'm not even sure Kyle Shanahan knows who the number one guy is going to be.
I think he does.
So
Kyle Shanahan
they
is just
might
very
put Trey
deceptive.
Lance in. They might put Trey Lance in at running back and just go for it.
Right.
So jump on it? No, probably not. I'm probably not doing that just yet. I am on the wait and see list for their running back situation.
Okay. So, that's all you had for your lookout for, right?
That was my lookout.
So give me your recap of surprised, not surprised, and lookout for.
Surprised, Josh Jacobs, Jameis Winston, Jamar Chase. Not surprised, Aaron Rodgers, Derrick Henry, Kyler Murray. Nope, Latavius Murray. I just wrote Murray, and now I'm confused because you said Kyler Murray.
Yep.
So put them both on the list. All the Murrays, Tim Murray, Kyler Murray, they're all on the list. Yeah, even you made the list. That's fine. Matt Murray, he's on the list also.
Yay, Matt.
You're all on the list. Everyone
right.
Every Murray that I know made the list.
All right.
And my watch list is Bryan Edwards, the 49er running back situation, and Juwan Johnson.
All right. Recap of mine. Surprise players, Brandon Ayuk, Aaron Rodgers, and the Tennessee Titans offense as a whole. Not surprised, Joe Mixon, Kyler Murray, and Saquon Barkley. Look out for Damien Harris, Bryan Edwards, and Mike Williams. So we're over an hour, so we were going to do a little bit of rankings.
90 minutes ain't going to kill us.
We don't need to go into top 12 at the position, I think.
Actually, I had my in and out list. I didn't even do a top 12.
Okay, good.
So players,
starts and sits.
Read it chalk, and then players that I'm putting out of the top 12 that were in the chalk top 12, players I'm putting in the top 12 that were not.
Okay,
no
so
point to go through
what I'll do
them.
is I'll go through ESPN's, because ESPN's standard, they go through with 5 to 6 analysts, and that's how they do their rankings. And I don't use ESPN's rankings as like mine, but it's a pretty good one to base your decisions off of sometimes, because like I said, they have 5 or 6 analysts that come into this. So Mahomes, Kyler, Allen, Russell, Lamar, Brady, Rodgers, Prescott, Herbert, Hurts, Stafford, and Burrow rounds out your top 12. I don't know of anybody else I'd put into that top 12 except for maybe Jameis Winston, because they're going against Carolina. But that's the top 12 that I would have. I'd move people around. Like, I'd have Jalen Hurts higher than 10, if I'm being honest.
As you read it, I left it that way. I looked at rankings from a different place, and they had Big Ben and Baker Mayfield in the top 12. They are out of the top 12 for me. Stafford and Burrow are in, so I think they're probably right around there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm certain that 4 of them are in a big circle somewhere between 10 and 15.
Baker's at 13, Ben's at 15.
So there you go.
Yeah.
I agree with the way they got it there. Big Ben out, Baker Mayfield out, Stafford in, Burrow in. My biggest upgrade in quarterback rankings is going to be the one that annoys me the most to say out loud. It's Jared Goff. He played well in garbage time.
He looked good with TJ. He had a good rapport with TJ Hawkinson. He had a good rapport with TJ Hawkinson.
He had good rapport with TJ Hawkinson. Where do they have Jared Goff? Give me a number.
A number for Jared Goff. Hold on, I switched.
Because he was low when I looked him up.
I think he's in the high teens.
They have him that high?
Nope, they have him at 23.
Yeah, he was low. He's not there for me. He's getting into the 15s for me. And it's one, game script. We'll never say run the ball for the Detroit Lions. Green Bay did not look like they knew how to stop a passing play.
Nope.
They just didn't. Are they going to look better this week? Yes.
I would
they
hope
are.
so.
But they're going to blow them out in the beginning, and then they're going to let them back in. I have Detroit covering that 10.5 point spread. And the reason for that is they're going to get back in. The same way they got back in against the 49ers, they're going to start slinging the ball around. The other team lays off a little bit, and you get back into the game. I expect that to happen again. It's a primetime game, so you're going to see it under the lights.
It's in Green Bay, too.
Jared Goff is up way higher than 20. Yeah. Well, the game in Jacksonville felt like it was in Green Bay, and the Saints still blew them out of the damn water.
Very true.
There was more Packers cheers than there were Saints cheers. Jared Goff gets my biggest upgrade. I do have Rodgers' revenge game listed on my thing for quarterbacks, so move him up wherever you need to. Detroit's defense sucks.
So
Watch out, 4 touchdowns. I think you could pencil in 4 touchdowns and probably feel pretty confident about that.
So I was talking to a coworker today about Aaron Rodgers. I think this past weekend was Aaron Rodgers showing the Green Bay organization, look what I can do to our team here. This is what I can do. And then he'll play this week against Detroit and show him this is also what I can do, and he'll ball out, which is why I have Green Bay covering the 10.5 point spread.
I think Aaron Rodgers is done in Green Bay after this year, and I don't think it matters what he shows him.
I think he's just being a dick.
That's fine. I hope he's a dick again this week, to be perfectly honest with you. I don't care how you want to slice it up.
Sorry, Merrill.
Listen, in order to win pick'em leagues, you got to go for it sometimes.
I need points.
You saw our pick'em standings.
I need points.
We're very close.
We both sucked week 1.
No, actually, that's pretty much right. I think 11-9 was a fairly good week from what I saw from pick'em leagues. Oh, you only put a 5? I had 9. Sorry, never mind. Well,
like I said,
in your own category.
I sucked.
I had 9, and I'm sitting in first or second place in several pick'em leagues. So it wasn't all that great of a week. It wasn't an expected week. It was people who sit there and look at training camp and look at injuries and look at moments and see what they can do. I made the mistake of changing the Chargers in 2 of my leagues. I didn't make the mistake in my other 2 leagues, and obviously the Chargers won. Maybe because Fitzpatrick got hurt, but whatever it was.
That's what I think.
The Chargers won.
Yep.
I agree with you. But
all right, we'll move on.
No. And then I have temper expectations on Dak Prescott. I know how good he is. I know he's got the skills. I know he's a good quarterback. I know he's a great fantasy quarterback. I get it.
That's your number 1 quarterback, though, Pat.
I get it.
Right. We don't need to
temper expectations, not bench.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be a top 5 this week? Maybe not. Look, the Chargers played great defense last week, and again, who was starting? But the Chargers have had a good defense.
Yes.
And you're going to run into good defenses. They have a great secondary. Temper, not bench, temper expectations if you're starting Dak Prescott. If you're doing daily fantasy, pick someone else.
All right. So we'll go quickly. We'll do running backs quickly here because the top 12 is pretty much a fluid situation. You can make a case for anybody to job at the 12 for running backs pretty much as long as they are a starter. Christian McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara, Derrick Henry, Nick Chubb, Aaron Jones, Naji Harris, Austin Eckler, Ezekiel Elliott, Antonio Gibson, Chris Carson, and Joe Mixon round out the top 12. And for the record, these are PPR rankings that I'm basing this off of. The one name that stands out to me on here, and I don't care that they're going against Vegas, is Naji Harris. He looked like doo-doo week 1. He did not look good. I understand the Bills are a good defense. However, that offensive line in Pittsburgh is not that much better than the offensive line in New York. Same circumstances with Saquon Barkley. I have personally Deandre Swift higher because he had 9 targets, which tied Christian McCaffrey for the most running back targets. And it goes off the garbage time. Jared Goff looked to DeAndre Swift in garbage time. He's going to get his targets, he's going to get his catches because of his PPR rankings. I would have Naji Harris outside of my top 12, DeAndre Swift inside of my top 12.
I kept Najee in my top 12. I like Najee. I do hate that offensive line, but Vegas showed they had holes up front, and I expect it to continue that way. I have Ezekiel Elliott out of my top 12. You already know I hate him. It's okay. Mm-hmm. It's fine. I live by it. I'll die by it. Like I said, it looked like Dak Prescott absolutely hated him. I said it to everyone that was there. I don't care if they're roommates. I don't care if they love each other on TV. It looked like they hated each other, and I expect that to continue. I have CEH in my top 12 this week. He's my upgrade.
Going up against Baltimore?
Going up against Baltimore.
Okay.
I know they have solid looks to them, but look what Josh Jacobs just did. CEH is an every down player. He doesn't have to worry about that. He can combine the Kenyon Drake and the Josh Jacobs role. The defense is going to be worried about Tyreek Hill. The defense just showed how bad they were against Darren Waller. Now they're going to have to show how bad they are against Travis Kelce.
Right. The only thing is the Chiefs don't run the football in the red zone
they don't.
like the Raiders do. And the reason why Josh Jacobs was a good running back this week was because of his 2 touchdowns. So I don't think you're saying that CEH is going to have the same type of performance as Josh Jacobs. But because of Josh Jacobs' performance, CGH has a potential to score more points.
I'm saying like 11, 10. Throw him in the top 12 at the fringe. Make him a fringe RB1, back end RB2.
It's just frustrating watching the Chiefs play, and they have this running back that they drafted in the first round that they don't give the ball to.
Who LSU absolutely loved, and it's just that their game script doesn't work for that. Their game plays don't work for that. Nothing works for that. But that is what it is. My biggest upgrade on listed position, and again I don't know where he is on that one, was Melvin Gordon. I think Denver gets another weak matchup, and I think Melvin Gordon shows that he has the explosiveness and potential to take advantage of all of those.
What number would you say Melvin Gordon's at?
I'd put him at about 16.
What do you think ESPN has him at?
24.
30.
Jesus Christ. I don't think he's there. And I get it. You're worried. Which one's going to do it this week?
He's behind Mike Davis.
Is Javon... Well, listen, you can't always be right. Javonte Williams, Melvin Gordon. Which one's going to... They both played. Melvin Gordon had less touches than Javonte Williams, but he made more of them. And I think he has that explosiveness. He has that drive. He has it. They just lost Jerry Jeudy, so there's got to be more coming to there. KJ Hamler's good, and Tim Patrick is good, but they're not Jerry Jeudy.
Hey, Tim Patrick.
Yeah, I know. We made that joke every time so far.
Yeah.
So I expect Melvin to have a he gets my biggest upgrade. He's up in the teens for me. He's not at 30. And in daily fantasy, which is what we'll talk about in a minute, he's a low option.
Right.
You can save some money and grab you some Melvin Gordon.
Right. All right, move on to wide receivers. We'll go through this even quicker than we did the running backs. Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, DeAndre Hopkins, DK Metcalf, Stephon Diggs, Calvin Ridley, Keenan Allen, Justin Jefferson, Amari Cooper, A.J. Brown, Tyler Lockett, and Cooper Kupp. Rounds out the top 12. I don't have anybody else I'd put in the top 12 this week. Maybe Adam Thielen.
Cooper Kupp's out. He gets a terrible slot matchup against Indianapolis.
True, but he also showed up as Matthew Stafford's favorite wide receiver.
That's okay. Indianapolis has a great slot cover cornerback. That's where Cooper Kupp plays. Matthew Stafford showed that whoever can get open down the field is going to get the football. True. So if it's Van Jefferson, if it's Deshaun Jackson, if it's Robert Woods, whoever can get open will get the football. And Cooper Kupp was wide open, 65 yards down the field. And the defense was like, who the fuck is that? Did he come off the stick? Oh, crap. No, he scored a touchdown. And they didn't even run. And Van Jefferson did the same thing. So whoever can get deep will get deep. I think the slot cornerback that's sitting there for Indianapolis is going to make his case. I put Cooper Kupp outside of the top 12 because of that. Is he a bench player? No. Is he our wide receiver 1 for me this week? No.
He's a wide receiver 2,
I replace him with Robert Woods.
See, for me,
switch.
What I would do is I'd switch out. I agree with you. I don't think Cooper Kupp goes in the top 12. I'd have Adam Thielen in the top 12. He had 9 for 92 and 2. There's no tight end in Minnesota. They're going to throw the ball. They're going up against Arizona. This should be a shootout from all the way I look at it. The Minnesota defense isn't that good. I think that they'll protect Kirk Cousins better than Ryan Tannehill got protected against Chandler Jones, although Chandler Jones could wind up with double-digit sack totals by the end of this week, which is nuts to think about. But I still think this is going to be a high-scoring game. So I put Adam Thielen in the top 12, so you have 2 Vikings receivers inside the top 12. All right.
2 Vikings, and I agree with the 2 Seattle wide receivers also being in the top 12. You saw what 2 wide receivers from the Cardinals did. I completely agree with having both of them. They both make my list for daily fantasy. Metcalf and Lockett are both in starting lineup for daily fantasy for me. You saw Christian Kirk and DeAndre Hopkins did. And
yep.
I think you're looking at a very similar situation with a better wide receiver too coming out of Seattle this week. So be prepared for a lot of offense there.
Who's your quarterback?
My temper expectations for wide receiver, just real quick, go to Diggs and McLaurin. We don't know what's coming out of Washington.
Mm-hmm.
And Diggs didn't look up to it last week, and you saw where I had him ranked going into the season. So saying
Very
that
high.
Diggs didn't look up to it is big for me.
Yep.
Diggs did not look up to it. It's good defense. Again, we've talked about that. But he gets a little weary for me. My starting quarterback this week is Joe Burrow.
You look good. You look good.
He did look good, and I think he's going to look good again this week.
Mm-hmm.
That is my daily fantasy starting quarterback.
I have Jalen Hurts, another quarterback who looked good in week 1. Granted, it was against the Atlanta Falcons. I still think that Jalen Hurts is going to do well against the 49ers. Jared Goff showed that he can put up points. The quarterback can put up points against this San Francisco defense. They lost Jason Verrett to an injury. The secondary is a little shot. And Jalen Hurts has that rushing ability that we always talk about with the floor. So I think Jalen Hurts is a good start at quarterback this week. You already talked about your wide receivers. I have one wide receiver. It's Mike Williams again. He's going to be cheaper because he's not the wide receiver 1 on that team. The Chargers are going up against the Cowboys, who gave up 2 top 15 wide receiver finishes, I think, to Chris Godwin and Antonio Brown. They're going to do it again this week, probably with Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. So I like Mike Williams a lot. He's going to be cheap. Running back, Nyheim Hines is my start of the week for running back.
I went with Jonathan Taylor.
We're probably close for similar reasons here. So I think that they're going to be playing a little bit from behind against the Rams. The Rams show that their offense is, I think, legit. So they're going to need to be coming from behind, throwing the ball more. And Nyheim Hines coming out of the backfield, that's the pass catching back later in the game. Get you points PPR-wise. Am I saying he's going to be your RB1 on the week? No. Is he going to get you 10-plus points? Yeah, and he's going to be a cheaper value on DFS.
So here was the lookout I had on that. Taylor and Nyheim Hines had the same amount of targets this week.
Which is good.
Taylor outgained him because Taylor's the better running back.
Right.
Taylor's the better player. The Rams' weakness looked wholeheartedly to be David Montgomery last week. And then Justin Fields when he ran. It didn't look like it was anyone else. They weren't worried about wide receivers. They weren't worried about Nick, whatever his name is when he was in the pocket. That red-haired dude. Andy Dalton. I'm sorry, I'm looking at you. They weren't worried about that guy. They weren't worried about anyone. Their weakness was the run game. And Jonathan Taylor is your run game. Yep. So Jonathan Taylor, plenty of receptions out of the backfield. Carson Wentz has played well against the Rams when he's played them. And the short pass game, the running game, that's where you get them. And the rest of my value came in weird spots when it came to daily fantasy. Burrow was cheaper than Jalen Hurts, obviously. And my starting defense this week was the Eagles, which was one of the cheapest options that were available.
Right.
And, well, it's the Eagles. They're not really supposed to be that great of a defense. They're going up against the 49ers. But they showed that they had the ability to stop Calvin Ridley.
Yep.
If you could stop Calvin Ridley, you could stop Deebo Samuel. I hope. And I'm a giant Deebo Samuel fan. And if that's it, Russell Gage, Brandon Ayuk, who knows where they are? Mike Davis versus whichever running back sits in the backfield, who knows? Did the Detroit defense look great? No, but the Detroit defense sucks.
Right.
So it was super cheap to get the Eagles, and they have more of a plus upside for me than the other defenses did. So I saved my money there, and I went ahead and got Jonathan Taylor over Nyheim Hines.
Right. So for me to pick a defense for this week, it'd be the Denver Broncos going up against Jacksonville. We already touched on Trevor Lawrence, turns the ball over a lot against Houston. And I'd say the Broncos are a lot better of a defense than the Houston Texans defense.
Hey, the Texans have...
Who?
That guy.
Okay, cool.
He plays in that position.
All right, and to finish off the episode, my big sit of the week, if you can sit him, sit Saquon Barkley. He's going up against Washington. They have a front
Should have
four.
never drafted him.
They have a front four. But if you're in a situation like me, if you're in a
feel bad for yourself.
Yeah.
Just feel bad for yourself and trade him.
I am currently starting Damien Harris against the Jets over Saquon Barkley.
Damien Harrison also. That's fine.
Yeah, so that's my big fade of the week because that's a good defense. Like that's a good front four. The Giants have a bad offensive line. It's just gonna spell disaster on Thursday Night Football. So
do you remember my point last week of you're not actually starting anyone on the Giants, are you?
Well,
it rings true for all 18 weeks this year. Let's not even harp on it.
Listen,
you're not actually starting anyone on the Giants, are you?
Shut up.
Put him on the bench.
Shut up.
Stop it.
All right.
Yeah, Kenny Galladay's great. Awesome. Danny Jones is a fantastic quarterback. Saquon Barkley's awesome. Yeah. No, stop it. Stop it. The Giants suck.
Until Saquon can prove you wrong.
Stop it.
If you have another option, please put in the other option.
Any option at all.
All right, not any.
Go pick up Naeem Hines.
Yeah, you can put Naeem Hines over him.
Yeah.
All right. So that'll wrap it up for episode 6 of Gridiron Dynasty, a fantasy football podcast. This was recorded Wednesday night, and I'll get this posted when I get out of work tomorrow. So it should be up around 6 o'clock Eastern time, so you'll have time to watch it before Thursday Night Football. Saquon Barkley plays Thursday Night Football, so if you're hearing me now and you have a better option. Did I say football? Did I say the other thing?
No, I said go football team.
Okay.
Wanted to mention that they still have the name of the football team.
Right, let's go Antonio.
And they're still going to beat the Giants.
Let's go Antonio Gibson. Actually, Daniel Jones has never lost to the football team. Just throwing that out there. It's a weird stat. Very weird stat. But anyway, thank you guys for joining us. Please like and subscribe. Share the podcast on Facebook, Twitter. If you share it on Twitter, tag us in it, retweet, do all the fun stuff on Twitter that I don't know what it is. So we'll see you guys next week for our next episode. Have a good one.